The Olympics are full of dumb sports, at least in my opinion, things that are really just not belonging there under any circumstances. But that's not what we're here to complain about today. Oh no, we will save that for another day. Today we're going to count down the top 10 sports that aren't in the Olympics, but they definitely should be. Everyone got your bribes ready? Great, let's make it happen. Number 10, snooker. This one belongs in the Olympics, full stop. I know that is slightly controversial, but I'm right. And if you disagree, you're wrong. I'm sorry. While snooker may be a bit more niche and taken seriously in a smaller number of countries, I will say two things in return to that fact. First, that is changing as the game is becoming much more popular around the world. And second, while snooker is a bit more niche, who hasn't played pool? Like for real, people have pool tables in their houses all over the world. Ain't no one got a 400-meter track or a speed skating rink in their yard. I think the main thing holding this back from the Olympics is that it is still a male-dominated sport. That's changing with the times for sure, but there is still a lot more work to do, and I think that's holding it back. So ladies, please pick up a cue. We need you to get this one in. Number 9, kiteboarding. Also known as kite surfing, this one has a fast growing popularity around the world, and I think it's going to eventually get into the Olympics, but it's not now. Heck, if horse dancing is a sport in the Olympics, this one isn't anywhere near as crazy as that. I think the dam may break in favor of kiteboarding with the Paris 2024 Olympics because surfing is making its long anticipated entry into the games in 2024. I think once that gets in there, and it probably is going to do pretty well, more sports like kiteboarding are going to follow suit. And not just kiteboarding, really, there is a serious lack of outdoor water sports, if you think about it, in the Olympics. I get that weather conditions have to be right, and also that there aren't a ton of venues globally that could make all the outdoor water sports work, but I feel like there's such a huge demographic that's being not represented right now. That's no good. Such a shame. Number 8, lacrosse. Okay, my Canadian bias is definitely showing on this one. I get it, but for real, lacrosse needs to be an Olympic sport. Why, you ask? Well, first of all, it used to be an Olympic sport back in the day. It was a designated medal event in 1904 in St. Louis and 1908 in London, so it's been there before. Second, while I appreciate that it doesn't have the same luster outside of North America as other sports, that is slowly changing and it's becoming much more popular around the world. But third, and perhaps most importantly, it's an awesome sport to watch. It's incredibly physical, both in terms of the need for strength and endurance, as well as the borderline violence. It's relatively fast-paced, certainly no worse than many other Olympic sports. If you think about it, field hockey can be an Olympic sport, then why not lacrosse? I rest my case. Number 7, netball. Not only should this be an Olympic sport, but I'm here to say that this should be a way more popular sport than it is, full stop. The parallels with basketball are substantial. Even watching like a couple minutes of a netball game is going to tell you that. And basketball is in the Olympics, so why not netball? Well, I think there are two main things working against netball. First, it doesn't have as much global popularity outside of Commonwealth countries, and while that is changing like many of the sports on this list, it hasn't quite reached that inflection point. At least not yet. I think it's coming. But second, it's seen as a predominantly female game, which again, I think is ridiculous because it's got a lot of the awesomeness of basketball with some additional fun quirks to it. So guys, go play some netball. I think it's only fair. We're asking the ladies to help out on the snooker side. You need to do your part and help out on the netball side. Number 6, mixed martial arts. Okay, explain this to me like I'm 8 years old. The Olympics already feature boxing, wrestling, judo, taekwondo, and karate. So why is the sport that combines them all not in the Olympics? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah, I don't know either. Mark my words, this is going to go into the Olympics at some point. The logic against leaving it out is non-existent. It's a global sport, that is for sure. Check that box. It's popular amongst both men and women, both as spectators and as athletes. And there are several closely related events already in the Olympics, as discussed. So why leave it out? Well, maybe there's the violence aspect of it that folks don't like or can't get on board with. But come on, you can't say that with a straight face and then include boxing in the Olympics. Perhaps some sort of middle ground will have to be found, but I am dead certain it is going to happen at some point. We are halfway home, just a couple of spots until we hit the podium. Since we're having such a blast with this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and why not throw in a comment or two? I'm dying to hear why scuba diving should be an Olympic sport. Number 5, bowling. Fun fact of the day for you, did you know that bowling dates all the way back to the ancient Egyptians? Yeah, the pharaohs liked to roll a few frames on a Friday way back several thousand years ago. They actually tried to make this an Olympic sport because it was included as a demonstration event at the Seoul Summer Olympics, but only 20 countries participated and it was considered a pretty big flop, so it was DOA. Many may say that bowling isn't a real sport, that it's not that physical, blah, 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 but I'm here to tell you that you are incorrect. While it's not physical, like track and field or other such events, this is still physically taxing. It requires full body capabilities, and it is a crash course in physics, geometry, and motion. That is a sport where I come from. Or maybe it's seen as too low brow for the elitists at the IOC. Meet me behind the alley. We will see what happens from there. Number 4, squash. Again, totally bizarre. This isn't an Olympic sport. Like, it is ridiculous. Tennis is in, table tennis or ping pong to some of us. It's in the Olympics, but no squash? Like, come on, it's insane. Now, it is slated to come to the Olympics in 2028, and that's a good thing. But we've been down this road before with other sports where it gets in for a bit, then it goes away. To me, this absolutely should be a mainstay forever. There is no excuse. This isn't some new sport. It's been played at a world championship level for like half a century. And it's not a sport that's resigned to a single region or population of the world. It's a popular sport just about everywhere. So while I'm glad it's coming to the Olympics in the near future, I gotta say it is super overdue. Number 3, darts. Okay, hear me out on this one. Like bowling, I will fully agree that folks who play darts, even at the highest levels, are not what we would traditionally call athletes, like not by a long shot. But are things like shooting and archery all athletic? Come on, they are not. So sure, it doesn't take a lot of vigor to play darts, but I'd still consider it a sport. And not an easy one at that. It may not be super physical, but it's still incredibly difficult. Not only that, it's a super cheap game to play, so every country could in theory participate and do well. And it's much more of an average Joe sport. So when watching it on TV, I think regular people would enjoy it much more. It's hard to relate to someone doing pole vault or shot put, but darts, yeah, we've all been there. Not only that, if they chose to set this up anything like UK darts competitions, then this would be a blast because those things are about as rowdy as it gets. So come on, IOC, give the people what they want. Number 2, polo. Polo used to be in the Olympics, rightfully so, and it very much belongs there. But it was pulled starting at the 1936 Olympics, and it's never returned since. This one is puzzling to me because the Olympics has no issue with horse-based events. They've got quite a few equestrian events for sure, so why not polo? It's far more entertaining than the other horse games, if you ask me, so what gives? Best I can figure is that this game is way too elitist, too highbrow, too posh, to use the English expression, and that perhaps means only a few rich countries would participate in it. But that same argument could be made for all of the horse competition, so I am not buying it. Now, fortunately, polo has become a lot more popular in recent years, and interest is spreading far wider globally, so maybe this one has a crack at re-entering in the Olympics, but for now, we will just have to hope. Number 1, cricket. This was a very easy call at number 1 and for very good reason. After football or soccer, for you North Americans in the audience, it's the second most watched sport in the world with an estimated 2.5 billion fans, billion with a B. And it's not like this sport just popped out of nowhere. It's not a new sport like kiteboarding, and it's not some newly popular sport like MMA. This has been around forever, and it was even in the already rich countries. So this one is a total head scratcher. Now, fair play to the Olympic people. This one is slated to return to the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. So maybe it will stick around if it does well there. But the fact that it has taken this long to get back in the lineup is pretty nuts. Curiously, it was included in the very first modern Olympic Games back in 1896, but then it got pulled due to a lack of entrants. Well, fortunately, that is no longer the case, so this one is on the list. It's number 1 on the list, but it will be there, hopefully, for the last time. So many great sports, and sadly, we won't get to see any of them at the next Olympics. Are there any that I left off the list that should be there? Let me know in the comments below, and please provide some justification and reasoning. I'm specifically looking at you, chess fans.